So welcome to Yin Yoga, Monday night, and we'll need a chair tonight, a couple of blocks, have your bolster handy, maybe a blanket for the head. And we're going to go straight into it, going to work quite a bit on the neck and the shoulders, the back tonight, and the chair is going to be a really helpful prop. You can use a bed, you can use something that's stable that you can lift your legs up onto, so it'll kind of look something like this, something like that, where your back is supported by the mat and your legs are supported by something approximately knee height from the ground. And allow yourself to simply relax here. I'm going to turn the music off. And just notice how you're breathing. Allow the breath to be smooth, even. And use this initial shape in our yin class tonight to let go of the day. During the day we find ourselves busy moving, driving, sitting, bending. Right now, just let the day's activities soak away from the spine and the back, and feel the back settle. And sometimes in Yin Yoga, when we use these props, we are preparing certain muscle groups for the deeper yin poses, both in the class tonight but also in the classes down the road. As you feel the breath settle, relax the shoulders and the neck even more. If you need to support the head at all with a blanket, if you have any tension in the back of the neck, you can support the head. Exhale, turn the head to the left. Just do a modest twist. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. Inhale ahead to neutral. And then a modest twist to the right. Inhale ahead to neutral and walk both feet over towards the left of your chair or whatever you're resting on, and drop the left leg down on the ground, extending it out. The toes point towards the ceiling. So the right leg remains raised and supported. The left leg is extended on the ground. If you're on a bed, you might bring it under the bed. And then bring the hands out 90 degrees, palms face up. So you change the relaxation, the sense of support here, into the shoulder blades. And your left hip flexor starts to release from the tightness of the day. And once again, using the arc, the neck, of relaxing your body to allow the stretch to deepen through gravity and time. So you're not forcing the stretch, you're inviting a softening in the muscles, so the stretch starts to happen automatically by letting go. So sometimes we have the idea the only way we can stretch is to grimace, to force, but often the stretch occurs through a letting go, softening. And then inhale, bring that left leg back up. So both legs are on the chair. Center the hips again. And then bring the hips and the feet to the right side of your rest and drop the right leg down, extending the right leg out, toes point up. Now these three shapes, both legs up, one leg up on one side, and then one leg up on the other side. These three shapes are three shapes you could do whenever you feel your back is tweaked or your back is in pain. You can use these therapeutic shapes to let the back relax, up to 15 to 20 minutes. In tonight's class, we'll keep it down to about 3 minutes. Once again, scan through the body, look for any gripping or clenching, any tightening. And then as best as you can, allow the body to relax. And then bring both legs back up, both calf muscles resting on the surface you're on. And then bring the left knee back and hug the left knee in towards your shoulder. Squeeze it in. Curl the toes back on the left foot. Notice how that feels on the low back. And then straighten that left leg towards the sky. Wrap your hands around the hamstring. If your hands don't reach around the hamstring, bring a strap behind the hamstring and hold on to the strap. Toes curled back. Make sure you feel sensation here in the calf muscle and the hamstring. Low back is grounded. So if you find your low back arching, relax. Relax the low back. Now point the toes towards the ceiling. Feel that stretch in the top of the foot. Curl the toes back. and then circle that left foot. First in one direction, and then the opposite direction. Exhale, release that left knee. Let the leg come back down and relax. Take a deep breath in, exhale, bring the right knee back. Squeeze the right knee in towards your right shoulder. Feel this in the low back. Toes curled back. And then release, extending that leg up. Grab the back of the hamstring. Toes curled back. Make sure the low back stays grounded and relaxed. Push up through that right heel. And then point the toes, stretching the top of the foot, the shin. And then circling the foot in both directions. And then exhale, release that right leg. If the towel is under your head or the blanket, remove it. And I'm going to recommend that you keep it beside your hips available. So your head is down on the mat, but the blanket is available close by. The next part of the exercise is going to require us to be careful that the chair or the bed doesn't slip away. Bring your feet back to the edge of the surface your legs were on, so that's the front of the chair. Point the toes down towards the chair, and as you do, lift the hips up and feel your weight move into the top of the back. So if you're not sure what that looks like, just see what I'm doing. I've pushed my feet down onto the edge of the surface, lifted the body up, and moved the massage down into my upper back, shoulders, and neck. You can stay as long as you like. You can come down whenever you like, and you can work this in ways that help roll out the back. Exhale, come down. Notice how you feel. Bring the feet to the edge. Exhale, press down, lift up, and this time lift the arms up and over the head. So the hands reach out behind you, hips lift up. Once again, Noticing how this feels in the neck, the upper back. Stay here as long or as short as feels right for you. Exhale, gently come down. Let's rest the legs for a moment. Notice how the back feels. Bring the feet back. Press down, lift up the hips. Now this time, bring the hands back behind you, bend the elbows, and support your low back with your hands. Elbows are on the ground, so your hands and elbows help hold you up. If you can, take the left foot off the chair and lift it into the air and over the head. Now you can come down whenever you want. You can rest as long as you want. Bring the left foot back, and if you're ready, bring the right foot up and over. So once again, you can rest in between. Curl the toes back so you feel this sensation all through that right leg. So these kind of poses here would prepare us, for instance, for snail pose in yin yoga. Exhale, drop that foot, come on down and rest the legs. If you've experienced butt creep, you can creep your butt back towards the chair or the support you're using. Notice how your back is feeling, your neck. So we're not holding the poses for as long as we have in the past in tonight's class, but we'll get into that a little later. Could you bring the hands underneath your head, clasping the fingers behind the head? Take a deep breath in, and as you do, press the elbows into the mat and arch your low back. So you feel an arch in the low back. The elbows pressing into the mat or as close as you can. So there's a stretch across the chest and the front of the shoulders. Back is arched. Tailbone is lifted. And just feel the sensations this generates. You can always arch the back a little more if it feels safe to do so. And then exhale, soften the arch. Let the low back rest. Keep the hands under the head. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, pick the head up with the hands and use your abdominal muscles to hold you up in a semi-crunch. Now wrap the forearms tightly around the skull. Squeeze the skull between the forearms and the back of the hands, so the back of the neck, the occipital ridge of the skull, and the skull are all clamped tightly. Shoulder blades are coming apart. Exhale, come up a little higher so you deepen the abdominal crunch, and then with all the strength you can, squeeze the skull and lift the skull up. Feel the back of the neck traction. Feel the occipital ridge come away from the neck. like you're pulling something like through top taffy. And then feel the back of the neck stretch, shoulders come apart. And then gently lay the head down. Remove the hands and relax the arms. Feel the sensations in the back of the neck, the back of the shoulders, maybe even the hands and wrists. Let the body cool down. Now the next shape we're going to do is very important. You have your towel or your blankets close by your hips. Inhale, walk the feet back to the edge of whatever you're resting on. Lift up, lift up. And this time take the left foot back into the air over the head. Cross the left ankle over the right knee. So you've got a little figure 4 here. Grab hold of your blanket or your towel. Have it ready. Exhale, start to slowly come down to the ground. Start to slowly come down to the ground. And when you get stuck, if your hips are still in the air, take that blanket or towel and bring it right under the back so your back rests into the towel or the blanket. So your back is resting against something. And you're in pigeon pose with hopefully a delicious amount of sensation. If you're feeling a grimace here, lift up a little bit and bring that blanket a little more thickly underneath you or up higher into the back area. So you really want this to be a delicious experience, not too much sensation where you're grimacing. And for many of us, the left hip is going to be the tighter hip for many of us. So we're getting into the tight side of the body right now for many of us. Let the breath start to move towards tranquility. And if you sense that your body is opening up, you can always lift up a little bit and move the blanket a little more down or thinner. So you might find that over time you settle into a deeper experience of pigeon pose. Explore and experiment with little micro adjustments over time. Really give this part of the body time to settle. If over time you find it gets too much, it becomes more intense, and then lift up and bring the blanket up higher or more thickly. Alternatively, you can always slide that right foot further away from you, but that's, in many ways, that'll take too much stretch out of the piriformis. Keep the figure 4, lift up and remove the blanket, lower back down, but this time bring the calf muscle onto the chair. So you've still got the figure 4, but now you've relaxed the amount of tension, so you no longer need the towel or the blanket underneath you. Take your left hand and push against the left thigh, so you're pushing the figure 4 out away from you. You're tractioning the spine out of the hip joint with that push. And then reach the right arm over the head, palm facing the sky, like you're reaching out from under the car for a wrench. And you're asking someone to pass you the wrench, and as they do, you reach a little further. Keep pushing the left thigh away if you can. Now exhale, release the pushing and reaching. Uncouple that left leg and rest both legs on the surface, palms face up. Keep your blanket handy for the other side. Notice how your lower back is feeling right now. Let's bring those feet back. Push down into the top of the chair, lift up. Feel that move into the shoulders and upper back. Lift the right foot up and over the head. And then drop the ankle over the left knee and slowly keep the blanket ready. Slowly bring the hips down and use the blanket underneath your back and hips to cushion and support your descent. You don't want too much sensation. You want delicious discomfort. You want to be able to sink into that blanket, sink into that towel, and feel like you could go a little further, but for now you're just going to be patient and wait. Just be patient and wait. Let the breath settle. As you feel a weightiness, as you feel the low back really settle in to the towel or blanket, then you might explore some micro adjustments, moving it a little further away, deepening the stretch. And once again, inquiring, is the sensation appropriate? If it is, stay there. If it isn't, just adjust the location or thickness of the towel or the blanket. So these are deep stretches. We don't always get this deep when we're in pigeon pose. So you might be feeling a lot, but we have the support of the back on the towel or the blanket, which means we can take a little more than normal. Once again, just check if you can go a little lower. And notice how this side of the body compares to the other side. Relaxing into pigeon pose on the back. There will be a tendency to roll the figure 4 to the right, so you might come back to the left a little bit and see how that reinvigorates the sensation. And then release, let the calf muscle rest on the chair. Lift the hips, move the blanket out of the way, let the back settle. Keep your figure 4, but now the calf muscle is resting. So the pressure is off the piriformis and the hips settle in. Notice how your low back feels. And then take your right hand and press into the right thigh. Push the right thigh away from you. Then reach for the wrench with the left hand, so you feel the ribs open up. Keep pressing the right thigh. Always working in the pain-free range of motion. Always remembering you have the choice to adjust and make micro adjustments. We're all going to be in different places with each shape, and each level that we're at is worthy. So each level of the pose that you're at is a worthy level. There is no unworthy level. Maybe you can push that leg a little harder, reach a little further, maybe. And then release and rest. The hands beside you, palms face up. And then bend the knees, hug the knees, rock from side to side. Notice how your low back feels. Bring one hand under the back of your head and roll to one side, curl up into a little ball. And then press up to a seated position. And you won't need your chair at this point, so we can move the chair if it's in your way. And let's grab a blanket, make our burrito. So what I call a burrito is I take the blanket, take the end to the middle, and then roll again. I have my burrito. Looks like that. So it gives a little more thickness to the blanket. Bring the blanket around behind you and sit on the edge of the blanket and bring the soles of the feet together. Move towards the edge of the blanket so you feel a stretch in the groin here. And if you have a bolster handy, you can stand it on its edge and rest your head into the bolster. If it's too intense on the hips, take your blocks and prop your knees up a little bit so that as you come forward, you take some pressure off the groin, off the adductors, off that internal stretch. If you don't have a bolster, you can also stack the blocks one on top of the other and rest the head. If you don't have blocks, you can simply drop the head and drop the hands. So you've got lots of options here. If you need to make any micro adjustments, come up, adjust, and come back down. So just feeling butterfly pose. Allowing yourself time to settle, for the breath to relax, for the shoulders to relax. If you're using a bolster and you feel the head is getting heavy on the bolster, you can start to move the base of the bolster further out, away from you, and that's going to create a deeper forward fold. If you're using blocks, you can adjust the height of the blocks by lowering them. If that's too much sensation, come back up. Relax the shoulders, relax the breath. Ideally, the head is supported, and sometimes we don't have the props. You can also just let the head hang. Over time, as you feel there might be more availability to come lower, experiment. Experiment and inquire, is this appropriate or is it too much? Now when you're ready, use the hands, push the hands into the earth, let the blocks come away. Push your hands up and then pick your knees up with the hands. Gently stand the feet further away from you on the mat. Slide forward off your blanket and lean back into your hands. And just tap the feet out. keeping the feet wide, about mat width distance apart, start to gently rock the knees from side to side. If you have props in the way, you can move them out. Now the next time the knees come to the left, pause. And then come up onto your left sit bone and take that right leg behind you and orient so that your front shin is parallel to the top of the mat. And you can see my back leg is bent. And I'm listing towards the left side. My hand is taking the imbalance. And then simply lean onto your left elbow if you can. If you can't, consider bringing a block or a blanket underneath the left elbow so you're really leaning over that front thigh. Scoop the flesh from the left side of the belly out of the way, and if you can, bring the right hand or the right elbow down in front of the shin into your deer pose. Option here to rest your head on the block. When you rest your head on the block, you can adjust and widen your elbows, and you can start to settle your weight over that front thigh. So we've done some deep glute work today with the pigeon on the back, and now we're coming into similar work with deer pose. And deer pose is interesting because you can create more intensity here simply by walking the hands away from the head. The elbows will come off the ground, and you reach the arms out using the hands to support you. And as you reach and reach and reach, you'll lean more and more forward, and this will come deep into that left glute. Head comes down over the front knee, relaxing the head as you reach with the arms. If that's too much, come back to the elbows and allow the elbows to support you. Now walk the hands gently back. Let the hands lift you up. Both hands under the shoulders, and pause for a moment. Give the breath time to settle. And then walk your hands back a little further and bring both feet forward. And just rest into the back of the hands for a moment. Close the eyes and feel that left thigh, that left hip. Notice the contrast in sensations between the left gluteal region and the right gluteal region. So I'm going to try a similar process now. We'll start with windshield wipering the knees from left to right. And also just notice how that feels. And then the next time the knees come to the right, pause, push up with your hands and sit on the right sit bone. So you're listing to the right. And then reorient. So you're going to pivot here to bring the right foot back onto the mat, left foot behind you. The shin of that right foot roughly parallel to the top of the mat, left leg bent, listing to the right, right hand supporting you, and if you can, right elbow supporting you. So you come down a little lower. Once again, you can use a blanket under the right elbow or a block if that's more helpful. It's nice to get off the hands initially and use the elbows. Now scoop the flesh from the right side of the belly so you can really lean over your right thigh, and hopefully that left elbow now might reach the ground or a block, so you have both elbows grounded. Once again, if you have a block for the head so the head can rest, it gives you an opportunity to really sink forward over that front thigh. Now this might be all you need. This might be perfect. You may not have to go any further than this. And I would just, for me, in my body at this time, this feels very comfortable, especially with the head supported. So I'm going to stay here for about 10 breaths before I explore reaching my hands out. And now comes the invitation to reach the arms out. Elbows come off the ground. I like to come onto my fingertips, so my hands are like umbrella hands. The palm of the hand off the ground, just on the finger pads, reaching forward to the degree that feels right, that still feels delicious even though the intensity has lifted. Remembering you can always decrease the intensity by bringing the elbows or hands back closer to the body. When you're done, bring the hands back and let the hands pick you up by pressing into the ground. Come up very slowly. Keep the hands under the shoulders and simply feel supported. Taking all the time in the world to come back onto the sit bones and bring both feet to the top of the mat. Carefully lay back down onto your back. stand the feet on the mat. Feet separate, knees together. Come into TP pose. Let's give the back time to settle after that big stretch. Knees, if the knees cannot touch, bring a block or a cushion between the knees and gently squeeze the block or the cushion. Feet are separate, TP pose. And if you can keep the feet grounded, so feel the bottoms of the feet, pinky toes, big toes, outer and inner heel bone. So my feet are pigeon-toed to be able to accommodate that groundedness. Relax the shoulders. Then bring the knees apart, lift the knees into the air, and gently hug the knees towards the shoulders. Keep the thighs wide so the belly can snuggle in between the thighs. And cross the left ankle over the right. Squeeze the knees a little tighter. Then change the cross the right ankle over the left and squeeze the knees a little tighter. Drop the feet to the mat. Take your bolster, if you have a bolster, bring it under the thighs and extend the legs out into Shavasana. If you don't have a bolster, you could bring the feet back up onto the bed or the chair, up against a wall, or you could support the back of the knees with blocks. Or you could let go of all the support and simply come into Shavasana. And whatever choice you're making, scan into the body, noticing any places of tension. Notice your low back. Can you invite the low back to soften? Notice your left hand. Is there any clutching in the left hand or fingers? Could you let the left hand and the left fingers go limp? Relax. And then notice your jaw. Is there any clenching of the jaw or teeth? Could you let the muscles and nerves of the jaw go limp? Relax. Let go. And then your eyes, just notice if your eyes are busy. Imagine the eyes becoming soft, softer, almost like they're melting. Melting into the sockets. Just like they do before you fall asleep. How soft can you become? Now we've done some deep stretching tonight. You might notice this over the next few days. So at any time you need to be careful and mindful of your back, just remember we've done a deep stretch, and it might be a reverberation. So just be careful. If you'd like to remain in Shavasana, stay as long as you like. If you're ready to come out, bend the knees, standing the feet on the mat or bolster. Roll to one side, cradling the head, curling up. Just feeling the back of the neck and the shoulders, the neck, the low back. And then slowly and gently make your way up to a seated position. And you can sit on a bolster or a blanket. You can have the legs crossed or straight. And let your body become tall, yet relaxed. No effort to sit up. Feeling a relaxed, upright posture. Notice your breath. Notice how you feel at the end of practice. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. Thank you, folks.